would you like to lead us in karakia, please, Trevor?
A tēnā tātou e whānau mā. E mihi ana kia koutou e tai mai I tēnei pō. Te huihuinga, e karakia tīpata. Kei no tātou. Unuhia, unuhia. Unuhia ki te uru tapanui, kia wātia, kia māma, te ngākau, te tīnana, te wairua I te aratakata, ko I rā e rongo, whakairi ake ki runga kia tīnā, tīnā humi e hui e, taiki e.
Apologies. Forgot to load this Zoom onto my thing last night. Okay. Can we see who, or can you unmute and tell us who you are on the PC iPhone, please, so we know who we're having a conversation with?
Kia ora.
Oh, kia ora. Yeah. So, let's write it down. Okay. Thank you to the whānau that gave the koha for this Zoom to happen so that we can have it for the hour and then instead of stopping for 40 minutes and starting again. It's very, very appreciated. The name that was given was the one that was most voted on, and that's ended up being Ngaa Uri Whatumanawa or Te Manu Haakopaa. So that's the name that we're going to be using for this rōpū as we discuss how we can support the whānau to actually be able to use the land and what that looks like so it can actually be presented to the board. So I've made Kiri be my secretary. She's not secretary here, but she's just helping me run some things in the background and making some phone calls on behalf of me and not as a trustee board member. And so we're just waiting on one group, and if they do not respond back by tomorrow, they'll be removed from our list. Otherwise, we have got 4 different bodies of work that will be telling us about how we go about it, from infrastructure, doing all the wharepakus and everything else like that, to how, once that's in place, what it looks like to either use storage container, shipping containers, kit set shipping containers, even the whareaku, which is the earth homes on the whenua. We've been giving a, yep, Mamai?
Kitty's having problems getting on. Can you send her the password, please?
There is no password.
Oh, I don't know. She's asking in the other group to get in. She's got an Apple. She's got an Apple.
And that explains everything. She's funny. Oops, and I've just been dropping all my pens from my class. Yeah, so that's where we've got 4 people. It will be a much longer hui than just the 1 hour. So the 1 hour is us to just not muck around, but actually do what we need to do so we know we're on the right track, because without numbers and everything else like that and what it looks like, there's no opportunity to present to the board how we would like as shareholders and beneficiaries to use the land. So hopefully she'll come on. Kevin, do you know everyone? If you want to unmute yourself and introduce yourself to the rest, then the rest of us can introduce it. So I'm Hinga Ki Waho. I'm Mamai's big sister.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, my name's Kevin Toto. My grandparents are Morris and Rachel. yeah, that's pretty much. I don't know if you know them, but yeah. So Auntie Hine or Nana Hine is my grandfather's sister. Yeah.
Wonderful. Great to have you. Want to introduce yourself, Wai?
Kia ora. I'm Waitiata Te Aukahu, so I'm Kitty's little sister. Our father is Victor Te Aukahu, and his father was Hoaka Te Aukahu, and his father was Te Aukahu. So yeah, that's how we fit in the picture.
Kia ora tātou. Ko Mickey Davis tōku pāpā, ko Queenie Tohe tōku māma, ko Charlie Rauri Tohe, koutou ko Hinga ki Waho, hera putere o ku tipuna mātua. No puke kohe au i te kāinga, engari e noho ana au i ki kirikiri roa. Ai, ko Mauria tōku marae, ahakoa ngā marae muka, e tautoko ana kia koutou, kia rātou. Ko Trevor Davis, I hope, although there's Cindy, my wahine Cindy's name's come up, and I think we're trying to get that off early on. So I'm not Cindy, that's my hoa wahine. Mickey Davis is my dad. Queenie Tohe is my mum. My grandparents is Charlie Rauri Tohe, Hinga ki Waho, and Hera Putere. I'm from Pukekohe, but I've spent, and that will always be that's where I'm from, but I've spent some time down in the Waikato. So I put a whakawhanaungatanga for those that don't know me. Thank you. Kia ora.
Kia ora whānau. I'm Jill. My father is Andy Ahu. His father is John Ahu Senior, who is the son of Hinga ki Waho. So that's how I whakapapa back to Whangamarino. Yeah, so my marae, we got a few, Okaria being one out there at Whangamarino, Mauria marae, Horohora marae, Taniwha marae, Waikare marae. Those are all the marae around that area that I whakapapa back to. Yeah, and just here to, this is awesome kaupapa, I think. Something that's been needing to happen for quite some time. So it's going to be interesting to hear the kōrero and where everyone's up to. Sorry, I only just got added to the group last week, so I don't know where everything is in terms of like planning and the kōrero that you fellas have already had. But anyway, I'm here. Kia ora.
Kia ora. I'm Mamai. I am Brahman's little sister. Our father was John Ahu Jr., who is the eldest to John Ahu Senior, who was Hinga ki Waho and Te Ahu Ahu's son. Before we get going, I just want to remind everybody that we are here because we need to get the plans up and going for our Papakaainga before we can put it towards the committee to ask for funding. Just a reminder, this is why we're here as a whānau working together. We just about got our first steps going. We've got interviews coming for our project manager and our excavators, which is the all-ins. Kia ora.
Thank you, Mamai, for that reminder of what the kaupapa is. So just in support of what my babe sister said, yes, we have put out a tono to everyone that can whakapapa back to Ngaki Waho and Te Ahuahu for the Whangamarino Block241 B2. And that's the piece of whenua that we're actually looking at to be able to use as a place for homes, since it's land that is currently not being used, and we're getting together so that surveyor, we know that we've got a survey report done that tells us when and where everything can be put, and we discussed that it's a kind of good idea if we get a project manager that actually isn't from the family, but we still have the family working with that property project manager, because we want their skills of being able to tap into other pieces like the infrastructure, like funding, like earthworks and anything around building houses and everything else as well as making sure that we know how many houses can be put on there, and we're very clear about how the houses will be put on there. We haven't got yet to thinking about, what they look like. We did a current account of possible houses or people possibly wanting houses, and that was around 30 to 40 people. Whether or not they choose to go further into that, we don't know. But that's how many people have actually put up their hands to say, yes, I'd like to come back and live on the whenua, because everyone has a right to ask the board if they can settle on the land. But what we're wanting to do is allow as many people as possible to come home on land that, well, it doesn't need to be used for kai. It's land that, would just sit there. And it's also land that would eventually be taken by the Pākehā government underneath the Public Works Act, even though it's actually freehold land. So this is why we're setting this up. This is so that we can be very clear on what we're looking for. And it's not about me, it's not about Mamai, it's not about Trevor, it's not about Kitty, it's about every single person. And we keep saying not every one of us is connected with all of the family. And so the ones that come here, we've got an expectation that they will actually then put it out in their networks to say, hey, we've got this thing going on around the Whangamarino block and we want your input. If you don't want to come home because you've already bought a house, that's fine. But if you've got some ideas, it's still very, very valuable for us to have, because we want to be making sure everyone understands what's going on. And yeah, that's my kōrero for the moment. And also, the meetings are recorded, and we've actually had koha given to purchase a Zoom, and that means that we don't have to stop and start, because I only had a free one. We'd finish about 35 minutes and then have to be koha and get back on. But this one records straight away. It will actually give us notes attached, hopefully, if I've synced it properly, and we can then put it up in a YouTube space for those that actually didn't attend the meeting. So if you've got a whānau member that couldn't come, but they've got questions, bring them to the hui so we can answer them, so that we know what's going on with them as well, what the concerns are. We've already had concerns raised about, but what if I don't want to come home right now? What happens to me? What happens to my family? And that's what we're working through as well, because we want to be making sure that we're doing everything fairly, hence the need for a project manager Otherwise, we'll be accused of just being selective on who actually comes home and actually stays on the home. The other thing that we've made very clear within this rōpū is that the first people to get a whare will be our kaumātua and kuia, so that they have got somewhere, because there's very few of them, and we all know they all want to come home, but there's nothing to come home to. So that's another reason why we are trying to use this freehold land to be able to say, here's a home for you. We're going to look after you. We've already organised people that specialise in elderly care within the whānau to be helping and coming home to looking after them as well. Although they'll be independently living in their own whare, there will be people that know how to make sure that they're okay. And then we will be adding other whare as quickly as we can, because we know that we can get quite a few whare up and running if we have everything in place that we need to take to the board with all the questions that they're going to ask us, because they want to actually see that actually we're not pissing around, we're actually serious. And so we've made a really big commitment for all of this to happen. My mic.
Okay, so where we at?
Kia ora whānau. I just wanted to sort of jump in and ask a few questions. Thank you for your kōrero, Kaz, hinga ki waho. So I am a trustee on Te Hirere Trust that was set up to oversee 241 B2. So when I first came into the group, I did put that question in there, that pātai, whether or not this had been taken to the trust, or if anyone had spoken to anyone on the trust in relation to this. I put that pātai up actually before I even noticed that cousin Kitty was in there. And well, cousin Kitty is actually on that trust as well. So that's when I realized, oh yeah, so she's in the know. But I just wanted to cover off a couple of things. The first thing I think would be, I just have a question to you, cousin Hinga ki waho, hana manush. You said that you fellows have put the tono out to the uri of Hinga ki waho and Te Ahuahu. My first question is, what about the other uri that come off Rurumanu and Te Wainahira? They're her sisters, and all three of them, so Rangimanu, Rurumanu and Te Wainahira, they all had whare on 241 B2 about 100 years ago. So yeah, that's my first question, is what about the other uri off those other lines? Because in the Māori land courts, they are allocated shareholders of that same block. So we just have to, bear that in mind and make sure that they're being reached out to as well. And I do see you have whānau in here from the Tohe line, which is awesome. If you are looking at reaching out to whānau that also come off Te Ahuahu, we have to remember Tukiringa and his line, because they also have succeeded to Te Ahuahu's whenua. So yeah, there's 74 allocated shareholders in that block 241 B2 that's current today. So that was my first pātai. And then the second one, I guess, is, have you, because I haven't gone back, and I have to admit I have not gone back and watched all of the Zoomies that you have got up on YouTube, mostly because of time. I do have a lot of other things that I'm doing. So I just wondered if you have discussed or had that kōrero about the process through the Māori Land Court to to be able to get Papakaainga on whenua, because there's a number of hoops that have to be jumped through with them. And I just wondered if anyone knows about those hoops that need to be jumped through and the processes that have to be undertaken through the Māori Land Court to be able to make sure that all of this is legally correct, I suppose. Yeah, so those were my first two pātai whānau. Kia ora.
Okay, to answer your first question, we have been trying to reach out to all those different branches. We've been trying to make sure that we actually have a representation from all of those sisters and everything else like that. Some are not interested, which is fair enough, but others are just being very cautious at the moment because they want to see how far we actually go before they actually commit, and that's okay. As for the succession and the shareholder stuff that's in the land court, until we have this right, we still can't go to the court. We have to make sure that this process that we're doing is actually legally binding, and that's why we're holding it at this stage before we present it to the trust board, simply because we need to know for sure that all shareholders, you said there's 72, I think we've been in contact with about 50 so far. We're still having troubles with some of the others. The ones that aren't here, other people are here representing that line or other things like that. So that is the reason for us putting it on video, recording it, so others can actually have a say. They'll come back, they'll say things, we bring it up in order for the questions to be asked and answered. Every single member on the board has been put into this paper simply because you all have a right. We're all shareholders, we're all beneficiaries to that whenua. That's the reason why for the group. I didn't choose the name. I put the name out there. I asked for names. I then put the names in and I asked people to vote. And that's how it was done. Mamai.
Yeah, I was just saying that we decided the names on this as a whānau. We all did that. We need to have our plan of how our land is going to work before we can put it into the trust. If we go there saying, look, we want to build our Papakaainga, and they say, what's your plan? And we come back with nothing, we're not going to get anything. So we've just got to, we are tippy-toeing over everything, but that's only because we're still trying to pull whānau in. We've got whānau that leave, which is okay because a lot of people have their health and other commitments at the moment. And I've said through other meetings, don't worry about them. They will come back when they see that this is being done. It has been close to 100 years that our whānau haven't done anything for our land. And if we don't do it now, it's not going to happen. And our land will soon sit there and we'll lose it. We'll lose it to the whites again, and we can't do that. And what we're doing is really, really good. What I want to know now, though, is where are we? We've got interviews coming up. Where else are we, please?
So we've got those people. The plan for next week is it will actually be a bit longer because we'll give a longer period of time. So we're looking at 5:30 to maybe 8:30 because, yeah, at present there's supposed to be 5 speakers and we allocate them time as well as questioning times and everything else like that. If one of them doesn't reply by Monday, we're not going to even bother about using them at all because, you know, we want to know that when we ask and we say, hey, here's a whānau of so many, we've got questions, can you tell us about what you do? And they respond straight away. Those are the people that we want to be working with. And the other ones have actually agreed to come. We've just said, hey, we've got this piece of land, do you know what you're doing? No. Okay, what do you need us for? Well, we need you to explain this, this, and this. Is that okay? Sure. Sweet. Can you be here? Yes. And that's why we're having this all in for everyone to ask the different questions. Like I've said before, Mama's an expert when it comes to civil engineering. It comes from plans and everything else like that. Me, I'm really good with the bookwork. I can make sure the numbers match and everything else like that, those sorts of things. And this is what it's all about. Our whānau getting involved, those who have the knowledge are the ones that are going to be leading this. I'm not leading this. It's just that I can work with Zoom a bit better than everyone else. Hence, we're on Zoom. So going forward, one of the things that needs to be brought back again is what is going to be our rules that are gonna be there. Like, once we get this information from the civil engineers, the property manager and stuff like that, we need actual numbers. But before we need actual numbers, we actually need to hash out what are going to be some of our rules and commitments that the whānau need to give us if this is going to succeed. Because this is a pilot, you know, we haven't used family land before because most of us have been fighting each other instead. Why? Because we've been colonised. So we've got to do all this unraveling, hence the reason why everything's going slowly. We have to always keep coming back and making sure. And the thing is, we've got some of the kaumātua and they're just saying, fine, go ahead. So that's what we're doing. They've given us the okay to be doing this because we know we're not doing it for ourselves. They know that we're doing it for their mokopuna and Putunurua and our mokopuna as well. So in today's meeting, we kind of need to discuss what will be some of the rules that, and expectations that we have for our whānau that are going to be moving back home. Oh my.
Wouldn't we be wanting first to be putting questions towards the people that we're interviewing next week before we put the rules up?
True. Yep, we can do that.
Okay, so what's our questions for our project managers? Don't forget, we are interviewing these people because we want to know if they're going to do what we need for our whānau and our people on our land without them wanting to take the money and run. Oh,
Scratches.
I don't know how to mute me again.
It's right.
No.
I suppose a good question to ask is if any of these project managers have a background or experience with the Papakaainga sector, if they've done it for other iwi, other whānau, and if they can show us what they've got done, what mahi.
Your own portfolio. Yep.
That's an excellent question. So is that for our project manager? What's the other fella that's coming in? Is it Ruben?
Ruben's doing the whareoku, the clay homes.
Oh yes.
We've got two civil engineering
Engineers.
Yeah, them. Coming through to do a kōrero, so they will do the land survey because a whole lot of us actually pivots on the land itself. Because, you know, in the old day, they used to know where the underground springs are. We don't. We use civil engineers and land surveyors to actually have a look what the whenua looks like, so they can actually tell us exactly. You know, we might want 30 homes built, but the way of the contour of the land may mean that it can only take 15. And those are sorts of things that we have to look at. And we have to get this project right so that it encourages other whānau, you know, to use our land that's just sitting there doing nothing. You know, that is being leased for $1 for 100 years or whatever kind of thing. It's land that we could actually be utilising for our own whānau. Kiri, yep.
Kia ora tātou te whānau. Just maybe if we can suggestion if we could probably table questions to them in regards like how many houses could we put on near the land, and the second one would be I would also think if they can possibly keep our lake that's between there, because we've had that for years, and especially when it's going towards our what sort of sustainability projects can they help us with because I see that's part of the plan that we've discussed about sustainability. I know that's really, really big effort. I know that some whānau have agreed to have whare uku, and if there's any other potential cost that we would need around that. Oh, and another thing, just a quick question. I was thinking of whānau who wanted to go, what is it, where just those pop-up homes? What do they call those pop-up homes? If they can support us.
Gurkey or something like that.
Just those homes that, the ones that DJ mentioned before.
Like kit sets.
Yeah, kit sets, and if they can support us through that, and if that would be sustainability as well, because I noticed some people have a certain amount of X that they want to put in towards whānau members who have want to put in from their KiwiSaver or whatever mixture they want to sit with the funding. So that's just some of the part I just want to put out there, maybe to think about. Kia ora.
Okay, I actually brought this up with the admin today, especially with the KiwiSaver. There are loopholes with the KiwiSaver that will benefit us. Now, even if you owned a home, your first home or whatever, before KiwiSaver came along, that doesn't count anymore with the KiwiSaver. We've just brought in our home, and the houses that were owned before that was before KiwiSaver came along, so we also came in as the first home owners, which will secure our insulation. I'm really staunch on let's go for your KiwiSavers, because that is your fella's hard-earned money. It isn't the government's, it's yours, and you have a right to get it. So, yeah, if we can find it, like I said, there's loopholes, and we found one with the KiwiSaver.
Do you know anyone that if we arranged a hui for all the whānau to learn about that, would that be a good idea?
Can I sort of suggest to the admin and they do it?
Yep, I'm just saying, I'm putting it out there, I'm tabling it.
Oh,
If
yeah.
we were able to secure someone who would teach us about that loophole, would the whānau actually attend?
Oh, I wouldn't know, but it is a loophole that you don't want to suggest to the banks or whoever you're going to get your KiwiSaver through. It's just something that we know can be done because we did it.
So how would you suggest this? Would you suggest it as an unrecorded meeting?
I'm not quite sure, because we sort of got to get the Papakaainga ready first so that we can get the buildings on that the whānau want, and how they, who's going to actually buy their their whare and stuff like that.
Yeah. Okay, I'll table that.
Aroha mai whānau, can I just jump in with something?
Absolutely.
So the planning sounds like you fellas have already been on to all of that with the engineers and getting a hold of people or companies who specialise in Papakaainga. But I have to go back to the first kōrero that I brought up before, which is the beneficiaries, because all of this planning that you fellas are doing in that is awesome. Like, honestly, it's so awesome, and I know that everyone is going to benefit from it. But the problem is that there are so many shareholders, and not all of the shareholders are going to agree to allocate any of their shares for the purpose of Papakaainga. So these are the thoughts that everyone has to go into this kaupapa with, is what happens if these shareholders don't want to allocate their shares to the Papakaainga? How does that work? What does that look like? Because the engineers are going to need to know this. They're going to need to know exactly how much whenua that they have to work with to be able to give you guys the information that you're seeking, which is what can be done. How can this whenua be developed? So they're going to need to know, you know, exactly how much whenua they're working with them, because there's so many shareholders. All of the shareholders need to be notified about this before the engineers or anyone else can come back to you with accurate information and numbers. And then that again goes back to the Māori land court process, because unfortunately, our land was stolen as a result. We've all been colonised. They've created their systems and their legislations to pretty much lock our land into the Māori land court. And as a result of all of that, these processes exist today. So to do that, I know, like you said, Taz Hinga Kiwaho, that you fellows have reached out to a lot of people, which is awesome. But there needs to be other things that are put in place to ensure that all of the beneficiaries are being informed. And that's not just something that's required through the Māori Land Court. It's also required to be able to get permission off everybody to go ahead with the Papakaainga, and it's also required from the trust, because the trust, even though you're getting your ducks in a row in relation to what it's going to look like, and getting your guys quotes and all the information that you need for building the Papakaainga and how that's going to roll, the trust also need to see how have you informed the beneficiaries. And one of those things that needs to happen is to put gazette notices up in the paper. It's got to be done 3 times in a row. Usually it's about every 3 months, to all the beneficiaries, so that they know that these plans are going ahead on their whenua as well. Because if you carry on with the planning and getting the engineers and stuff in place and getting their reports and that, it's not going to be accurate reports unless they know exactly how much whenua they're dealing with. Because
Okay, Jill, can I ask
Yeah.
you this? Do you know the actual land usage of that block?
241
Have you
B2, not the current land
Do you know
usage.
how much whenua it is? Therefore, okay, so what you're saying, we still have the right to put in the engineers, because the engineers are going to be the one that will actually tell us how large that piece of land and all the curvature and everything else like that. Then we can bring it back to our whānau, to the shareholders, and then that's the opportunity. That's the opportunity to say yes or no, because we then know the actual land size of everything. It's the same as, you know, what you're saying is that Girlie had no right to actually put her cows on the block, which she's been doing because she didn't get the permission of all the shareholders.
No, that's not what I'm saying, cuz, because
No, it's exactly the same thing.
that agreement was
That
made
agreement was
between
there,
her
and everyone
and
has still carried on with that agreement. But at the moment, what we're trying to do is we're trying to get the information ready, Mamai, to present.
We only need 3 shareholders sitting with the project manager to get the go ahead. But like I said, we got to do this to be able to put it to the board. But 3 shareholders is all we need to talk to the project managers. But that's not what we're doing. We're involving the whole family so that as many of us can be there. A lot of this has to go out word of mouth to our whānau. But yeah, three have to agree to this for us to be sitting with the project managers so that we can put it forward. Hence why we are doing this. So we know that much. But like we're all working, we're all passing messages on to the whānau that's not involved. As far as I know, I believe that Kitty's got a flyer that's going around soon that she's been working on. So we're about the next step. We know where we stand at the moment, but until we have our shareholders, we interview these people that we want to look at developing our land and coming back with the plans and everything before we can put it to the board. Once we put it to the trustees and that, then we find out where we go from there, because it could be a simple, well, yeah, it's a yay or a nay, but we have to work to find out.
Yeah, no. And that I totally, because I know that, like, this is new for everyone, including me. it's not something that I've ever undertaken. I've done a lot of work on Māori land in relation to the whenua and shareholders and trusts and stuff, but in terms of Papakaainga, I haven't done any mahi on that, but I have done a lot of research. So yeah, all I know is that I don't know what the rules in that are in relation to working with the project managers. But what I do know is the rules and regulations and the legislation in relation to the whenua, the beneficiaries and the Māori Land Court, not just that, but also the council and all of that stuff, which I'm pretty sure the engineers are already covering that all off anyway, like, you know, there's resource consents and stuff like that. In relation to your pātai Hinga Ki Waho about the size of the whenua, yes, I do know what the size of the whenua is. It's on Māori Land Court, exactly the size of the whenua, but I don't know exactly what that particular block is being used for at the moment. What I did know from our last AGM was that Girlie was did have, well, actually Girlie's father or grandfather had a gentleman's agreement with the trustees back in the day that they could utilise the whenua for their farming as long as they paid the rates. That's all I knew about that kōrero. And yeah, nothing's changed since then because the trust has remained the same and there's really been no progress on that. But that's what I can bring
Hence
to
the
you guys.
reason why the whānau is getting together, because there's been nothing. And this is why we've got young ones that actually want to come home. They're losing their jobs and they want to be able to come home and know the whānau and work with the whānau. Hence the reason for this, and also for, you know, your aunties and stuff. They want to come home and live on the land. The nannies and kuros, they've had enough of the big smoke. They want to come home, what belongs to them. And that's why we're doing it. Mamai.
Yeah. And everyone has the right to. Absolutely.
Mamai speaking.
Okay, also the project manager, when we decide to, whoever we're going to go with, will also do all of this and find the legal guidelines so everything's done properly. There's not going to be any bouncing around. We are trying to keep our whānau in this as much as possible, like it's a transparent messenger thing, so everybody's in the know. I've seen on other pages that the meetings have gone up there for our family. But yeah, the project manager, when we decide, when we interview them and hear what they've got to offer for us, then they will hopefully come back with a plan for us to all agree on that will be legal.
Yeah, no, that all sounds awesome. Like, yeah.
Kevin would like to speak. He just put his hand up, please, Bill.
Kia ora tātou. Hey, just gathering my thoughts and all that. Totally agree with what Jill said about awesome mahi been happening. I think one of the questions that I would like to put forward with the pātai is what for the people next week is what is the actual process for us to make all this happen? Because Jill touched on it, where we're going to have to go back to the land courts and all that. But if we don't have anything in place, or we haven't actually spoken to the trust, because there's a trust that's put together with all the beneficiaries from however long ago. But then what happens to that when we've got a side, or like the way I look at it, there's another entity, or there's another kaupapa happening on the other side of it. But not saying that what we're doing now is not wrong or is wrong. What I'm saying is, how can we make it happen where it actually combines and it comes together so we can all make it happen? That's what I'm thinking.
Kevin. Mamai, you wanted to say something?
That is why we're doing this, to get it up and rolling. We have trustees that are in our whānau that are helping guide us along the right lines. That's why everybody's ideas are really, really important. But that's where we interview the project managers, the people that could be doing the houses. We interview them and make sure that they can give us what we can put across to the board.
What I'm actually seeing is that we've got the cart in front of the horse, if you know what I mean. Like, we haven't done the groundwork first to even get to that stage where we start asking about how we're gonna, build this Papakaainga or all this other stuff that's happening. Because a lot of
It's not actually, Kevin. We can't just go to the board and say we want houses. We actually have to put together a project plan that is legal and shows all the different aspects so that they know, and that's how we do. We've got to actually present a proposal to the board, and that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to stop all the fighting and work together and put together a plan that everyone is aware of building homes on land that we can. And this is around that block at the moment. This is what we're doing. It's the first time we're doing it. And we know that there are going to be hurdles, and we're trying to work through the hurdles of people misunderstanding what the role of this is. This is about a project. This is about the wider whānau who are shareholders and beneficiaries of the Whangamarino Block having an opportunity to know that they can come home, because we've actually looked thoroughly at it. We've had someone involved who has knowledge of how to do it, because none of us that are talking on the Zoom have been project managers for Papakaainga. That's why we wanted all the whānau to come next week and ask all sorts of questions to these people, because then we know what the questions are. Because I don't know what you're thinking, you don't know what I'm thinking, but you have questions.
Yeah, I understand that. I understand.
And we are just trying to actually get that done.
Yeah. No, I understand what you're talking about, and I tautoko what the kaupapa that's happening now. But my other question is, when you refer to the board, who's the board?
The board is those that were nominated to be in charge of Whangamarino Block241 B2. That's the board. They may be in charge of other blocks, but that's not the block that this discussion is on.
Understand. Kia ora.
Kia ora, Kevin. Tautoko your kōrero, and that's sort of like where I'm coming from too. Like, I'm not, I tautoko this kaupapa. Like, let me just say that. Like, I fully tautoko this kaupapa. But the thing is, and I think what Kevin was trying to put across, is that even before any of that planning was to happen in relation to who are we going to contact to build this Papakaainga, what does it look like, how much does it cost, the first thing that needed to have happened was somebody should have approached the trust and asked for permission to establish a committee for the Papakaainga, because that committee for the Papakaainga falls under the jurisdiction of Te Hirere Trust, which is the Whangamarino 241 B2 Trust. And as such, that trust are the ones who have to approach the Māori Land Court to be able to file the applications for all of this to take place. So because of that, this is actually a side committee to that trust for the purpose of Papakaainga, which I fully tautoko. But what needed to happen was that at the beginnings of this, the trust needed to be approached, and there needed to be permission asked for that committee to be able to be formed to work on this project. Because it's a very important kaupapa, it is. And like I keep saying, I tautoko it, but there are certain things that needed to happen prior to it getting to this point. And I think that's what Kevin meant when he said, I think, the cart is before the horse. That's what he was referring to, was the fact that the trust had no idea that any of this was going on, and it actually needed to be brought to the trust's attention, and permission needed to be obtained from the trust to set up this side committee. We've got new trustees now who I know are open to Papakaainga, and they want the same as what you fellas want, and the trust is happy for a committee to come together and to start all of this planning, but all of the processes need to be followed correctly, especially when later on down the track, I know you aren't at that point now in your thinking, but later on down the track, when the applications go into the Māori Land Court, all of these boxes need to have been ticked, and there need to be evidence meeting minutes of all of these things happening prior to applying to the Māori Land Court. That's the skills and information and knowledge that I can bring to you guys and share with you to make sure that it's successful, because I want to see this be successful. And I know so does the trust. I've spoken to Auntie Alison about it. And of course, Cousin Kitty's already in here. She is on the trust. There was a little bit of communication issues there. And initially Cousin Kitty didn't realise she was actually a trustee. She just thought her role was purely secretary. She is a trustee. She was voted in at the last AGM as a trustee. So it's good she's in this group too, in this rōpū, because, you know, that's showing that she's out. But like, we're all working together and we all want to be working together, but that's what needed to happen. And we do have a trustee hui coming up 6 p.m. on Tuesday night via Zoom. Everyone that wants to come is invited to attend, even though it's a trustee hui. We want to hear this kōrero. We want to work together. We want to, we also need your fellas' help to tidy up our trust, because it's a mess. I'm telling you, it's a mess. But anyway, that's not the kaupapa tonight. So yeah, that's
No,
what.
it's not.
Kevin,
So Jill, why wants to have a kōrero, and so does Mamae again.
Yeah, Kate Pai, I just, hinga ki wako, can I just ask, please, that when people are talking, please don't cut them off, because it's real rude. I know everyone wants to have their chance to talk, but every time I've spoken, you've cut me off now. So I just wanted to say that I'm here to tautoko. I do have the knowledge and around the legislation and all of that stuff, and that's what I'm willing to share with you guys, so that you guys have got the tools that you need so that this is successful. That's all.
Okay, it might be a good idea if you have a look at past videos that we've done, because before we could even get a committee up and running, we had to come up with a name, and we've only just come up with the name. So then, because, yeah, we've done the name, now we can start working on a committee as well as the plan for our Papakaainga. Yeah. Why?
Sorry, Kaz. I was just going to say, I know that Kitty and Cousin Bronwyn have been we're trying to reach out to everyone for the last couple of years to gain interest. And I think when you're talking about plans and things like that, no one's that interested. But then when you guys come with a plan and say, this is the idea that we have, and if you present it to the board, I guarantee you, Cousin Jill, everyone's suddenly going to show up to the table. Then there's going to be interest, because I know Kitty, and I've been speaking to some kaumātua, I'm not going to say anyone's names or anything, they know about it, they just don't think anything's going to come from this. So there's not that much interest. But I think if we come up with the plan, they present it to the board, they then present it to the whānau, the same plan that you guys are deciding to present to the board is presented to the whānau, I know that you guys will get interest. That's when suddenly the hands are going to be up. Oh, I want in. I hope that makes sense. Yeah. So I know that the intention is there, and I acknowledge what Cousin Jill's trying to say as well, because I think the main concern is trying to make sure that everyone's aware, because when you speak of Papakaainga and Māori land, there's always this past, there's always other land where there's been stories where whānau had either sold it or they've built a Papakaainga on there and other whānau haven't known about it. So I think there's big concerns around that sort of stuff. And I think Cousin Jill and Kevin, they just want to make sure that we're doing this the right way, because you've also got to think of tapu. Because if you do that, there's definitely tapu if you're going to try and kind of cut other people out of whenua, if that makes sense. Yeah, that's all I wanted to say.
Tautoko i Jill. Trevor? You're on mute again.
Kia ora tātou. Kia ora whānau. Some good robust discussions, which is all good. Ngā whakaaro is to ensure that tikanga is being observed, that we do things the right way, that we cross our T's and we dot our I's. Coming from Jill, Kevin, all of these things, yes, we need to take on board, and I know there's been a lot of mahi there, Tingeki Waho and Kel and Mamai fellows have all done previously. Just making sure that we're in a good space, and we're all there to tautoko each other. I whakawhanungatanga nera. That was really all I was wanting to say. I've been listening to some really good discussions today in Wānanga. Kia ora.
Gillian, you were talking about some of the bylaws and that you were talking about. Would you be able to look into that for us? Because then we're pretty sure that we're doing it right, but like we said, we need everybody on board so that we can find out if we're doing it right or wrong. But yeah, that is our purpose at the moment, was first we had to get a name that we all agreed on, that involved everybody, all the whānaus, all Hinga Ki Waho's whānau, including her sisters and that. And then we can put a committee, try and get a committee together with all of us. But yeah, we've still got to try and get this plan. We've got to get it moving, because at the moment, this is the most anybody's done for the land, really. And as a whānau, because my father and my grandfather didn't want anything to do with it. It was too much. It was too much drama, they said. But I didn't realise there wasn't as many of them as there is of us. But we're trying. And all we can do is try. We may hit a brick wall, but at least we can come back together and find a way to knock that brick wall down. But yeah, all your kōrero is awesome. Even if it does seem a bit hated, it is a correct kōrero that we are having. Kia ora.
Kia ora, cuz. I tautoko that, yeah. I know our, like my dad and his siblings, they didn't want anything to do with it because of all the fighting. I don't really see that there's like fighting here and now. I just see it as like everyone has said, it's really good, robust kōrero that we need to be having, and some of these questions need to be asked, and some of this thinking needs to be thought. I can. First, I just wanted to reply to cousin Y. Carl, cuz I'm not looking at it from the perspective that I'm worried that people are going to cut people out of the whenua or anything like that. Not at all. Because I already can see just from going back through the messages in the chat group how inclusive cousin Hinga Ki Waho, cousin Mamai, cousin Kitty have been to try and get everyone on board. And I do see there's been a lot of growth and a lot of interest in that chat group. And that's awesome to see. Yep, I can, I'm not too sure about the consents and all of that stuff to do with the council. I know what consents are required, but what I can get and send to you guys is the information from the Māori Land Court in terms of, so an application needs to be filed with the Māori Land Court to set aside whenua as a Māori reservation for the purpose of Papakaainga. That's the first thing that needs to happen. Then after that, you've got things like, if that's approved, you've got things like license to occupy that also needs to be applied for through the Māori Land Court before any Papakaainga can even be considered. So there's all of those.
Sorry.
Pardon? What was that, Hinga Ki Waho?
I interrupted by mistake. I was just talking. sorry about that. I was just agreeing with you.
So-
Hence the reason why we were
Oh, yeah.
trying to do this, so that then when we present it, you've got it ready, and then you can take it for the application, and then we can do the next piece, and then or those sorts of things. So that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah. So that's what Mamai had asked me, if I can get that information together and bring it. So that's what I can do. I can definitely do all of that. But you know, there's other things that need to happen before even that happens, like approaching the trust, getting permission from the trust to be able to have this side committee, all of that stuff, because the trust is going to want to see things like, how have you contacted the other beneficiaries, and all. Well, we have to see that, because that's what has to go in our application to the Māori Land Court to get permission for all of this to go ahead through their system. In terms of the council, I don't know. I do know a bit about that, but the engineers and stuff that you guys are already talking to already have those skills and that knowledge and those relationships with the council, so they'll already know all of that. I'm just looking at it from the perspective of the Māori Land Court, you know. So yeah, cousin Mamai, I can definitely do that, get the information, fact sheets and stuff like that of what's needed for the Māori Land Court applications, and make sure that I send that through to you fellas. Kia ora.
Mamai?
Your kōrero that you're talking, cousin Gillian, these are the questions we need for the project manager and everybody we're interviewing with the all-in. These are the questions that need to be asked. So yeah, keep them coming. That's how we will find out what we need to do properly, and how the project manager will also be able to explain stuff to us like that. We will either find out if they can explain it to us or if they can't, and what more homework we need to do. But those are all some questions that we need to use when we're interviewing these people that we may be hiring to help us.
Kitty?
Kia ora te whānau. So if you take some time out later sometime today, if you could, please check out Plan My Papakaainga. They have their portfolio set, and everything to do that we're talking about now, that for example, if we choose Plan My Papakaainga or Sheridan Association, what they will do, they will table all that mahi for us as a Papakaainga committee. They will do that on our behalf, so that way we don't have to, all we have to do is come up with a plan and agree. So that's why we have actually purposely put this together, and that's why we've been having these hui, but also to open up the chance for those who are whakama, to give them a chance to have a voice. So I think if you take some time out, check them out. They're on social media, and those people there, and it'll be great. Definitely like those kōrero, those questions that you're talking about. They can be asked on all the all-in. So we wanted to make sure to give everyone a chance, a voice and a speech. We're just setting up a space so that we're holding space, so that it can be made possible to add all these details into the plan on what we're trying to do. Yes, if I heard cousin Jill talk about, like, if some of the shareholders say no, that's fine. But according to my Papakaainga on TPK, if you look at it, you only need 3 or more shareholders to agree. So far, what most shareholders they have come back, and we do have confirming more than 3 shareholders. But however, we have to add that to the plan. So we are at stage 1 moimoia planning, and then we get a project manager to be able to put this through. Once we accomplish the plans with the designs, also when you talk about infrastructure and stuff like that, that's when we present it to the as a whole, as a committee, to the actual to the AGM. It's no use trying to come to the AGM, especially being a board member. I would not want anybody to come to us and say, hey, look, you know, we want a Papakaainga, and then we turn around as an AGM to the, you know, actual beneficiary. Hey, okay, that's great. You want a Papakaainga, that's awesome, but where's your plan? So definitely that's why we're saying, hey, look, we're trying to do our due diligence whānau for the beneficiaries, to make sure if they do want a Papakaainga, to make them feel inclusive, okay? Because it's not just who we're picking, but also to answer the other questions. If you know those people, you know, because I don't have all the contacts, you may do too. So if you know those whānau members, please add them to the group. Hence the reason why that group has not been closed. It is open and there will be more to follow. So kia ora, that's my kōrero.
Jill?
Yeah, kia ora whānau anō. No, so yeah, it might be on the Te Puni Kōkiri website that you only need 3 shareholders to agree. That's to go through their process, which is the funding application. Now, you go through the Māori Land Court, that there still needs to be applications filed with the Māori Land Court that are completely separate to Te Puni Kōkiri, and the legislation that covers them is Te Turi Whenua. And that's the legislation that states that all beneficiaries need to be notified and it needs to be brought to the AGM. The beneficiaries need to vote on it, and that evidence of that hui needs to go to the Māori Land Court and be attached to the application for Papakaainga. So it's not just 3. And you also have to prove to Māori Land Courts that you have sent out as many notices and tried to contact as many beneficiaries as possible, because I know it's going to be impossible to reach all of the beneficiaries that are shareholders to that whenua, but you have to show that you've tried. And what they request through Māori Land Court is the gazettes and the papers to be able to contact the beneficiaries. It doesn't matter whether the beneficiaries have replied, as long as Māori Land Court can see that you have tried. So if you're in terms of getting permission from the Māori Land Court to build on our own whenua, which I hate, the fact that that's what we have to do, but it is what it is. It's governed by Te Turi Whenua. Then it needs to be voted on by as many beneficiaries as possible, not just 3. That might be Te Puni Kōkiri's process for their funding application, but it's not the legislation in terms of getting the permissions from Māori Land Court to go ahead with Papakaainga. Kia ora.
Why did you still have a question?
Yeah, cousin, it was just with just a different subject. With next week's hui that you have with the project managers, how confident are you that we might get new people come on, just like Jill, myself? I don't know, Kevin, if you've been in this meeting before, and then they start asking the same questions and we don't give the project managers time. Like, is it smart to have next week's meeting? Or I just think you might have next week's meeting with the project managers and then all of a sudden you get more new people who haven't been on, and then they start asking the same questions, and then
Mamai, do you want to answer that?
Okay, that's why we've got all the flyers. Kitty's got all the flyers up that she's trying to get out. The other thing that we've also started up this week is we've got a bank account that will help us get towards it. Like some of us have put a koha in so that we could get our Zoom up and running for us. Other funds in that account will be used, like you said, in a gazette or whatever. These must be put up as reminders to our admin. Have these been organised? But yeah, we're doing our best to make sure that we're covered in every aspect. That's why it's important that we all come together, and we are trying to get whānau on. As you see, there's a lot of whānau that's left. I says, don't worry about them. When they see that something's actually moving, they'll probably come back, because everybody's got that doubt of, you know, what our ancestors had. Oh, it's too much drama. And so that's why we just got to keep going, and we find out what we find out as we go, and we work together to get it up and running. Kia ora.
And the other thing for this is the fact that when a lot of our young people see a board member on, they freeze, they won't talk. And that was the reason for just having you guys there, but giving our young ones an opportunity to talk. Because, you know, if we squabble and you talk about the trust, it turns them off. And we're not trying to do that. We're actually trying to encourage them to learn, you know, to be the next ones that might put up their hand to be the trustees or whatever. But at the end of the day, if we don't put together a plan that can go to the trust or go to TPK, there won't be any houses on the whenua, and we'll still be going round and round in circles. We're just going to stop going round and round in circles. We just got to be aware of the different parts, and we are. And as we are made aware of the next bit, then we keep going forward and we make sure that we are okay with that. Regarding the gazettes, you don't have to just, it's not only gazettes anymore. It's also electronic notification is actually approved of as a form of contact. And as long as that contact has gone out, like you said, every 3 weeks for a period of time, an AGM has to actually be at least 6 weeks in advance kind of thing. Those things all have to be in place. Now, we've never said we're a committee. We've just said that we're a whānau that have chosen this name so that this pilot project has a name. Otherwise, you know, that's where we're at. We're trying to help our whānau understand how to get home, to have a house on the land that they're actually entitled to live on. Otherwise, we're just going to get one of them and they just plonk the house in the middle of it, and then nobody gets to be on the land. We're trying to be fair to everyone. And yes, we're aware of how much quorum it is and everything else like that. That's why we are continuing every single day asking whānau, if you know anyone else, please add them. If you know anyone else, or if you're in a different group, can you please let them know all of this information, especially those ones that are overseas, especially those ones that are in different time zones. And we record for the sake of that, so that they can actually, if they're just finishing work or whatever, they can actually then put a message in to whoever they know, because we don't know everyone. And then those people actually come back and say, hey, you know, so-and-so presented, they wanted to know this, we want to know that. And then we can actually answer the question or say, we don't know, we'll find out the information, but we'll get it out to you during the week and we'll put it up in the group. I hate being rude and leaving on a negative note, but we are pretty strict about trying to make sure, and I have allocated for the fact that I had trouble getting in, that we stick to this hour kind of thing. But for next week, as you say, for all of those that have got questions, we want to be starting at, correct me if I'm wrong, was it 5 or 5:30, to allow whānau to ask all these questions, so that when we have the professionals, people coming on, we as a whānau look professional too, because we've already asked all the questions and we know what's going on. With the flyer going out, you can also do your own due diligence about who these people, you can look these people up, see whether they're legitimate, what projects they've actually worked on, and those sorts of things, to make sure that they are legit. And as I said to you guys earlier, we are waiting on one particular group, and if they don't respond back to us on Monday, their name will be taken off the list and we'll be down to 4 people that will be interviewed, but also telling us about the different things that they do, because there's a lot that happens when you put a house on a piece of land. Did you have a question, Mamai, before we close?
No, I didn't, but if you guys have any other people that you know of, or any other organisations that you want to put forward, like when we say put forward, we're not saying we're going to vote on what you choose. It's going to be our admin, they will organise so that they can be brought in as an interview as well. It's everybody's ideas. So yeah, I just thought I'd say that. Huh?
Kia ora, sis. Did you have one last question, Jill?
Yeah, I just wondered what the bank account number is, please, so I can put koha in it too. Because like I said, I am fully total for this kaupapa. Just need, yeah. So can I have, could you just put the bank account number? Is it for this group, or is it the one that everyone put the koha and cousin Hinga Kiwaho for the Zoomy? Is it the same bank?
My sister's put my bank account up at the moment. That's the bank account that we're actually using at the moment. That's not the official, because we knew that we needed a piece of paper and those sorts of things, because then the bank account is not mine, it belongs to everyone over here, not me.
Yeah.
She meant a name.
Yeah, no, cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Ka pai.
So I'll let you know when we've done that due diligence, Jill. It'll probably be after this next meeting, next week. Okay. Trevor. Oh, Kevin, did you have anything more to say? Ask, question, I mean? Oh, ka pai, Trevor.
No, I just want to say, no, I totally took all the kaupapa as well. Yeah, and 100%. Yeah, I hope to see it come into fruition. Not hope, I mean, can't wait for it to come into fruition. Kia ora.
Good. Hence us just pushing through, having faith for everyone. Tēnā koe, Trevor.
Tēnā tātou whānau ma, e mihi ana kia tātou. I ngā whakaaro e whakahirihira i te whenua nei. Tō tātou tūpuna te moia, engari te karakia whakamutunga. Nā nei, kei no tātou, kia tātou katoa. Te atawhā tō tātou ariki ai Ukraiti. Me te aroha o te atua, me te whiwhenga tahitanga, ki te wairua tapu, ake. Āmine.
Yeah, so remember whānau, let everyone know. We'll put out the proper time. I'm not sure whether he said 5 or 5:30, just so if there's any hiccups like happened today, we can sort out before we actually listen to the people present to us. And yeah, we'll also, when we're at that next meeting, decide on a time of how long before we make the decision of who we think would work best for the whānau. So, mauri ora.
Hei a te rauiki.
All right.
All right.